first build yourself a following. Get to that place where you can headline a club. Doesn't have to be a big club, and you get there again by playing not clubs first, but playing house parties, churches, wherever you can start to get some people on your mailing list, so that when you do go to that club, people will come. And then, the next step is that the club booker will say, well, this is great, we're going to have you open up for a bigger band, and then blow them off the stage. I mean, so often you read about these bands and you read their biographies and how they developed, and inevitably there's the line, we had the opportunity to open for someone and we blew them off the stage. It's a truism, and I think it goes across genres of music. When you start doing that, something's happening. How you get to that point, be great, I guess. I don't know how you teach that, but you get to that stage, and then you get to a headlining level, and then I think the next piece of strategy is to look to the next town, city over, and find a band or an artist that's similar stylistically to you, that's in a similar place. So if you're doing 200 people at a club, and you see 50 miles away in the next city someone else that's doing that too, call them up and swap gigs, have them come open for you, and then you open for them, right? And then you start building a little circuit. Bands don't leverage themselves enough. I mean, bands don't go out and package tours anymore. Some do. Saddle Creek is doing a package tour right now, but it's a really good way to introduce other bands. And you start doing this in enough cities, and I firmly believe you have to do this regionally. You've got to find a region. If you're an East Coast band, getting to the West Coast may take you a while, because you got all this stuff on the East Coast, then you have Chicago, and you got the West Coast. In between you have nothing, or very little. So focus on your region and excel there, and then gradually, I mean, I really believe you got to do the kind of guerrilla tours. Do what you can do in a weekend. How far can you go? And little spokes out, and go out and conquer and come back, and then make it a little further, and eventually those weekends become weeks. It's not rocket science, but it does take a real discipline. It does take making sure that mailing list is in place, making sure that you're leveraging other bands, making sure you've got connections with other bands in other cities. And so you're always going to have these gigs where you play for a person. I mean, it's part of the process. But you want to minimize those and look for communities. The scenes in which this seems to be working are like the jam band world, where they make these concerts an event, and their social gatherings. The emo world, where they're like parties that the music happens to be playing, and often they're not in clubs. Often they'll be in people's houses, or they'll be at VFW halls. Punk rock works kind of the same way, and there's a lot to be learned from that. I'd recommend another book, Our Band Could Be Your Life, which Michael Azerrad wrote, and it really does chronicle the rising up of these bands that had nothing. They had no infrastructure. They had no ideas. Pressing a record at that time it's a wonderful metaphor. I think it was Discord. They decided they're going to press up some records. They had no idea how to make the sleeves. This is back pre-CD. So they took apart a sleeve and then built a template from that sleeve. And then they said, oh, okay, well, now we see how it works, and we'll make... That's the metaphor for the record industry. Take this thing apart, see how it works, and then put it together with your own stuff. I think it is this kind of entrepreneurial ethic where you've got to be creative when you're going out and touring. And if you just follow these templates that aren't working for your friends, they're not going to work for you either. And I see this with bands over and over again. Well, we're playing X club in X city. Well, how many people were there to see you? 7. Oh, what's the booking person's name? Let me call it. Why are you gonna keep doing this? It's not, But so I think it's being creative. I think it is finding like-minded bands in different cities and trying to leverage the communal power. I think it's pretty easy to see where if you're a musician, you got to be playing live, and that's really your first kind of entree to the whole rest of the world of the music business. For me, doing A&R as long as I did, I was in kind of constant touch with clubs. Either I had a band playing there, or I had to go see a band that I wanted to sign, or whatever. So you get to know these people who book the clubs. Well, that's ground zero, right? Because these people are talking to labels, they're talking to booking agents, they're talking to managers, they're talking to press people, they're talking to radio. Because for them to put on a good show, They got to market it that way. So if you're looking for these connections, if you're looking for how do I get a manager, you know how you get a manager? Have a great live show and play at clubs. And any manager worth his or her salt is going to hear the buzz eventually and come out and see you. You know, how do you get a booking agent? And it's totally counterintuitive. How do you get a booking agent? Book a tour. You know, because start playing at clubs, start getting a following, and then these booking agents who make their money off of commission, usually 10%. So if you're getting paid $50 to play a show, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a booking agent to take you on and make $5. But if you start building it up, where you're getting people in the room and they say, well, you know what, I think I can get you into the next city too, and you're making $300 a night, and $30 ain't great, but I can build it up. It starts at the club level. And you know what, frankly, if I can back up a little bit, it doesn't even start at the club level. It starts at playing private parties, house parties. I don't mean like cover band type things, but you got friends, you're in college, or you're in a kind of artistic community or something, or you're not. Have a party and play your music. Get some friendly feedback. Get these people to be fans so that when you do book a club at a gig, it's not two people and a dog staring there. You bring the people that you played for at a house party to come out of the show. This way the club will have you back. And then hopefully you start attracting non-fans. But it starts at that gig level. And what people don't understand is that the gig is at the center, but there are all these things around it. So prior to the gig, you've got to get your press package together in order to even get a gig, right? To send something to a club. That same press package should be sent out to the local media, press and radio. It should be sent to retailers. What the hell? Maybe one of them will come down, and then they can discretionarily put in your CD. You start using this gig as an opportunity to talk to people. After the gig, there's kind of follow-up stuff that has to be done with the club, and that doesn't just include, when can I play next? It's like, have you gathered the materials from your mailing list? Have you continued to create this kind of community around your music in which the club plays a big role? So maximizing that gig is everything, and if you don't do that, if you don't begin to develop a following, which then allows you to sell CDs right from the stage, which is distribution, it stops. You can't ever go any further. You're not going to get signed. You're not going to get your song in a movie. If you can't get out there and generate some enthusiasm within the community that centers around the club, it's just not going to work. So you've got to start there.
Live gigs are very important. If you don't have the passion and tenacity necessary to score yourself a gig, then a certain amount of natural selection might be appropriate. Then maybe you do die off. If you do have the passion and tenacity that it takes to score yourself a gig, then you've created a marketplace for your ideas, for your music, and you've created a way that ideas can be spread by sharing this music, sharing the experience of being at the gig, sharing the hard copies, the CDs, burning copies for your friends, or sharing digital music, whatever it is. And at that point, I think you've begun to give people the power to sort of spread your ideas. And Seth Godin did a lot of writing about spreading the idea virus. You want to give people the power to become sneezers, to become influencers, to share your ideas and to help them spread. And of course, music, songs are ideas.
I get disappointed if I go to a live show and it sounds exactly just like the CD does. To me, it should be something that's more than just the CD. It's more than just the songs. It's a performance, and it's it should be like an experience, more than just like playing your songs exactly how they sound on the record. So, yeah, we try to give people if somebody's going to pay $10 to go out and see a show, then we try to put on a little bit of entertainment for them so they can remember who we are, and maybe even have something more than just entertainment, maybe, some kind of inspirational experience.
In your book, you say not to start a band with 9 people, and I'm in a band with 9 people. So I was wondering if you had any suggestions on how to tour with 9 people and still survive.
Well, it's good news, bad news. Bad news, bad news. It's tough. You have to, You can't go and do a gig in LA, right? You have to start locally. And you could go to, before you drive to New York or LA to play to 9 or 10 or 15 people, you could do that in Hammond, Louisiana, or Baton Rouge. You know? Go to a bunch of places around here, just make sure it's working. Make sure that on a good night, when no one has diarrhea and there is an okay sound system, blah, 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 and maybe even if everybody does and it's a crap sound system, you can triumph. Right? You don't need to travel 2,000 miles to get those chops. And get the machinery of your band together. Not on stage, that's a given. You've got to be amazing on stage. Off stage, get it together so you're working as a machine. While you're talking to the promoter, you know, somebody else in the band is putting 2 cases of beer in the back of the truck. You know, however you do it, it's piracy on the high seas-ish, right? The good news about having 9 people is if you divide the labor, you've got 9 people on your team, which is way more than if you sign to a major label. As long as everybody's doing their thing. Find everybody's strengths and everybody's weaknesses and divide the labor. I did it on a package tour. I'm like, oh my God, it's me and 36 people. How am I gonna, Hold on, it's me and 36 people. Hey, you wanna do the guest list every day? Great. You wanna do this, you wanna do that? Boom.
If I'm an independent artist, I'm a new artist, I'm trying to get out. What I have to do is I have to look at every fan that walks through the door as being somebody that I can use for the rest of my career to earn income off of. Now, that's a pretty harsh way of saying it, but that's just simply how it is. I want them to appreciate the music more than anything, but I also have to look at them as a potential source of income. And so if you do the math on it, you know, if they buy a t-shirt once a year, if they buy an album once a year, if they come to 2 of my shows a year, you know, start doing the math, you know, add up the money. It doesn't take that many fans, you know, to earn, for you to earn enough income, you know, to survive and prosper. So the challenge becomes, how can I get the maximum number of people to come through the door, and then once I get them in the door, win them over? It's sort of a two-part process. And so if I am on tour, let's say, and I'm going out for my initial tour, one of the things that I don't want to do is I don't want to stay up all night partying and get tired. What I want to do is I want to have interviews lined up on radio shows. I want to go to the record stores. I want to shake the hands of the people, the 18-year-old kid behind the counter that recommends music to people that walk through the door. I want to give them a t-shirt. I want to give them signed posters. I want to give them anything I can give them that will reinforce my name to them. Give them free tickets to the gig that night. Have them give them some extra tickets so they can bring some of their friends. And you basically have to work all day to try to muster up any interest that you can in getting people in the door, so you can win them over once you get in the door. Now, once you get them in the door, and here again, there's no substitute for a good manager who can make sure that that event that happens is memorable, notable, unique in some way, you know, so that it will win them over once they get in the door. But so it's a two-step process.
Booking agent basically finds live gigs for artists to play, where to play, how much they get paid, and tries to get them into like-minded shows with other artists that they either are comparable to, and just tries to keep progressing them into better venues and better clubs and better community, really. You know, you never know. I think if you have the standard rule, it used to be that you'd have to get into a bigger agency, you would have to have a manager and a label and some sort of a draw within a 3-state radius. Like if you're from New York, you should be able to draw in Boston and Philly and New York. And there's smaller levels of booking agents that'll help you get there. But the paradigm has completely shifted as labels are kind of becoming irrelevant and radio doesn't exist, and everything is moving toward live. That's where people are mostly making their money now, is through live performance and through the internet as more of a tool for publicity and to sell your music. So I have bands that can sell 1,200, 2,000 tickets and bands that can sell 4. It all depends on the talent, really, I think. Oh yeah, every day I get either emails or phone calls. It's harder to get a booking agent now than it is to get a record deal because people don't buy records anymore. They buy music that isn't on any sort of vehicle anymore. So the labels are all scrambling to figure out how this new industry works. And the one thing that people do is they still buy tickets. They get music for free. Kids don't go to record shops, but they still go see shows. And how they're finding out about shows and bands they want to like has nothing to do with the label, has nothing to do with radio. It's all a lot of the power of Pitchfork is insane. The internet has completely shifted how everything works, and so to get a booking agent is, in the genre that I work in, is more important than having a label, because in certain instances a label can't really do anything for you. If you're an artist, you have music, and that's what kids want. They don't want a record anymore. No need for it. It doesn't exist.
You have to be a really particular type of person to tour, and I think that's something else is like, you know, people are like, oh, touring this sounds so fun. You know, like, oh, that sounds really great. I mean, it is lonely as hell. That's the first thing. It's like, especially on big tours, it's like you are going home to your hotel room by yourself, and it's like maybe you'll Skype with your friends, maybe you'll see what's on TV, maybe you're lucky enough to be in a city like Vegas where you can like walk down to the lobby and kind of like see what's going on, you know? And or you develop relationships with people on the tour, obviously, but it's like they're tired too, you know? It's like it's touring is a bunch of people who are leaving their friends, their family, and everything they have to go hit the road because they're sacrificing something because for something else, you know what I mean? And it's a passion, but it's also like it's not just popping bottles and partying every night and raging, you know? Like, yeah, that fun stuff that you think in your head, it to be like that exists, you know? And like there are some nights, like some of the, you know, best memories and stories I have are from tours I've been on. But, you know, some of the most stressed out or tired or, you know, any of it I've been has also been on tours. It's just, because you can't decide when it's over, you know? Like, you're at school one day and you feel like shit and you want to go home, you can decide when your day is over and you can go home and you can get into bed and nobody can tell you you can't do that, you know? You cannot do that on tour. You cannot one day decide, I feel like shit today, so no, I'm not going to advance this show. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't really matter because you have a goal and your responsibility is to every day make it happen. And there is no reason why you can't do that.
It is very tough. I mean, the thing is, because of the cost of doing business today, everyone, you know, the cost of fuel, if you have a van, even if you convert your van to McDonald's grease, it's still the conversion costs are expensive. And, you know, cost of staying somewhere, but I guess you can always sleep in your van and sleep in, you know, have street teams and people there and sleep in their houses. There are ways of doing it. I know a lot of bands have done it. Every band has probably done it at a time in their career. They have to start somewhere. And eventually, you know, you develop and build an audience. I wouldn't advise someone to just try to conquer the country right off the bat. Try to conquer a region where you can afford to do it. And if you can expand from that, then you can move out slowly and start getting paid for it. I mean, we have to earn our way. No, there isn't anyone who's going to pay for you to play in front of an empty house. So you have to draw people. And eventually, hopefully you can, and eventually, hopefully, you know, you can be one of those bands. Every band from U2 on up, they've all played club circuit at one time in their life, so it has to be done. So
the reality is that in today's world, it goes in steps. There's a point at which the artist is on the road making no money, really. There's no profit. They're barely paying it off just to be out there. Then they get to a point where they start to make a little bit of profit. They kind of turn the corner a little bit. But then what ends up happening is you step it up a little bit. You know, they end up 9 times out of 10 adding another crew member or adding another instrument to the band, or they can't drive around that van anymore because it broke down 25 times, so they either got to buy a new van or start trying maybe go on a bus. So the costs end up going up a little bit. So then they end up in that second level where they're breaking even again, even though they're making a little bit more money. So in reality, although people look and say, oh my God, they grossed $10,000, they made a fortune. They grossed $10,000, it barely paid off. They grossed $10,000, the venue's got to get paid, the promoter's got to make something. The cost of the show is this, and the band makes what? $1,000, $2,000? That's not profit. It costs some of these artists, you know, between $15,000 and $25,000 a week to be on the road. That's a small act. I mean, in today's world, if an act, you know, is on the road doing 5 days a week and, you know, doing 2 or 3 months at a go, and they've got 4 or 5 guys in the band and a couple of crew guys and carrying equipment around. They got a van, 15,000, 25,000 a week overheads. Not ridiculous. That's what it costs, especially with the price of gas. So when you break that down, you feel like they got to make $5,000 a night just to break even.
Yeah, the social thing of being a good touring musician, you live on a bus, so it's like living in a 500 square foot apartment with 8 roommates, It might make a good MTV reality show, but the actual mechanics of it are quite tricky. So, I mean, that's as important as anything else, when I talk to young musicians is, yeah, be the best you can. If that means practicing 8 hours a day, do that. If that means practicing however many hours, do that. Get good. Be the best you can be. But if you don't have people skills, if you don't have the social skills, then your career will be very short-lived. I know lots of musicians who don't tour, and it's because people don't think of them, like band leaders don't think of them as somebody that they'd want to spend that many hours in a bus with, or at a more basic level in a van with, because most touring, unless you're with Norah Jones or some big pop star, the reality is you're probably going to be in a 15-passenger van driving 6-8 hours a day. And I think about that too. As a band leader, I work on both sides of that. I'm a band leader and I'm also a sideman. For Norah, I'm a sideman. With my own music, I'm a band leader. And when I think about going on the road, the list of my favorite musicians is pretty long. And then when I think about people I'd want to be in a van with for 8-10 hours a day, the list gets a lot shorter. So I don't know exactly what you can do to be one of those people who other people would want to spend time around, but I guess that's different for everybody. But some of it's the professional stuff, be on time. Some of it's hygienic stuff, bathe regularly, brush your teeth, things like that. Part of it is just being willing to roll with the punches, because good vibes are infectious and people want to be around that, and bad vibes are infectious. When you're in a tiny little environment, if you're having a bad day, a grumpy day, you make it difficult for everybody else. So that's something that I've learned a lot over the last 7-8 years of traveling with Norah, is to be flexible and be easygoing, and that makes the tour go a lot faster that way.